Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to FoundFlix. On this Inning Explained, we're looking at Terrifier 3, where Art the Clown unleashes chaos on the unsuspecting residents of Miles County during the holidays, and the battle between good and evil reaches new heights. Now, I'm admittedly not the hugest fan of these movies, but I do appreciate them for what they are. I just wish that they could be better overall. I guess my biggest issue is that everything feels very inert. There's no real progress to the story, and the characters don't propel the plot forward either. I know, I'm complaining about the plot of the Terrifier movies. I also understand that the production was quite hectic due to the increased budget and scale, leading to script pages literally being torn out on set. So I can see how the end result could wind up a little shaky. Regardless, what does work in the series is still going strong. The art character and the inventive, gruesome kills are as memorable as ever. So let's check out Terrifier 3, breaking down what little story there is, including what we learned about the grander story being built, Art's purpose, and the demon's intent, along with explaining the ending. A lot more than I thought there'd be, honestly. On a blustery winter's night, there's an idyllic house all decorated up for Christmas. In a twist on what many little kids have experienced, a little girl wakes up her parents, thinking that she heard Santa up on the roof. Her mom plays along, tucking her in bed. She says that it was just one of his elves that Santa sends along early to do some safety inspections. Mom agrees to put out some milk and cookies if she goes to bed right now. She puts out a plate and then hears strange noises herself. She brushes it off as nothing until noticing the front door is just slightly open. She lays the blame on Mark. You left the door unlocked again. How many times has that happened? Meanwhile, Juliet is awoken again to footsteps, but now in the house. She excitedly tries to rouse her brother. Timmy, Santa is here! But he grumbles to her to leave him alone. Undeterred, she stomps downstairs and someone in a Santa suit is facing the tree, along with his big bag of presents. Well, sort of. She runs back to hide and he rummages through the bag. He retrieves an axe, and we all know that definitely ain't Santa. Art takes the axe, stalking right upstairs. Juliet follows a few feet back as he opens the door to little Timmy's room. And in case you wondered if Art drew the line with kids, yeah, right. Art then casually moves onto the door of his next victims, her parents. Art unleashes his axe, hacking up Mark before he can even wake up. His wife stirs awake, noticing blood covering her arm. She flips on the light, seeing her mangled man, and shrieks. Art, of course, makes fun of her emotions and gets back to work, hacking them into more manageable meaty bits. Art chases her downstairs, and she can't get the door unlocked for some reason. She was so close, but Art gets her in the back and proceeds to chop her up good. A few more murders under his belt, Art helps himself to those milk and cookies, his fingers still stained with blood. Strangely, he even cleans up afterwards. What? Art does the dishes? Sure, he's a maniacal killer, but he's no slob, okay? Art hears some rattling from a cabinet, finding Juliet hiding inside. He gives her a little wave, flashing his demented grin, and while we don't see what happens, we have to assume the worst. Juliet is now fine and thriving as an adult doctor. No, she's dead, probably. We then jump back to 5 years earlier, right after the events of Terrifier 2. A cop arrives at the scene where Art and Sienna had their final battle. His headless body is still there. He calls in on the radio, feeling a bit nervous, and wonders when backup is coming. A sound lures him away, and he stares down into a hole. He then gets a surprise attack from Art's body, choking him. He unloads bullets right into his body, but they have no effect. We also remember that after Art's decapitation at the end of T2, Victoria, stuck in a mental hospital, gave birth to his head. Yep. And it's time for the two to be reunited. Jericho hears her screaming and finds Art's head munching on the lady's body, as well as being fed through a flesh tube by V like a little baby bird. Art's body shows up, and the pair work together to disassemble his face entirely. The duo head to a decrepit old house, their base of operations apparently. V honks Art's horn rapidly, and it seems to annoy him. Back at his old workstation, Art fondly caresses his various murdering tools. V takes in her reflection in the mirror, and I'm sure it is certainly quite a shock. Art finds himself a nice rocking chair and takes a load off. He peers out the window in an obvious homage to Black Christmas, and the windows are right out of Amityville. V moans that she used to be hot, but won't be getting any lovin' now. She repeats in a distorted voice, "Pretty girl." She then punches the mirror and screams, smashing the glass. She gets in the dirty tub and seems to bleed out. Now we're back to the present day of the opening, really jumping around the timeline there. I'm not sure why. What do you think, you're Chris Nolan or something? Anyway, Sienna has been in a wellness center since the events of T2, and it makes sense that she would definitely need some therapy after that, losing her mom and friends and everything. She is going to be moving in with her aunt and uncle, along with their daughter Gabby, who is a huge fan of Sienna. She gives her an excited hug and pleads to never leave her for so long again. Sienna promises she won't. Gabby shows off her new room, and she is quite stunned. It's like a fairy tale exploded in here. She has a card for her too, calling her her big sister from another mister. She hopes this is gonna be the best Christmas ever, filled with fun, smiles, and laughter. Yeah, don't count on that. At Art's house, a demo crew arrives, and according to one, there's some stories about this place. Back in the 90s, some maniac abducted and killed 12 kids in town. All their bodies were buried in the basement, and everyone now thinks the place is haunted. The other dude is spooked, but apparently he just messing with him. If there isn't some history to this house, why would Art even want to come back here? Not so sure that it's all made up after all. Sienna has a flashback to her as a kid with her dad Michael, seeing him in the flesh for the first time. And hey, Jason Patrick! I'm sure his being named Michael isn't a coincidence, since that's his character from Lost Boys. He's busy scribbling away on his Blaster Man comic. Sienna complains that he only draws boy characters, and he retorts sure he does girls too, showing off a clear damsel in distress. The girl is disappointed. She wants someone that can beat up Blaster Man. He promises that he'll do it soon, and Sienna doesn't believe him. Yeah, she groans. About to leave, he stops her. He does have something for her after all, though we don't find out for another hour. Back at the house, the dudes split up and each encounter Victoria and Art respectively. They've apparently just been chilling for the past 5 years. Definitely weird. V starts to move, emerging from the tub sludge. The other guy gets closer and closer to Art, thinking that he cannot be real. He springs to life and tosses him. V quickly takes out her target, while Art makes a meal out of the other guy, as usual. V watches on, and it appears the violence is turning her on, making very gratuitous use of a glass shard upon her person. Sienna is unaware that her adversary has awoken from his random 5-year slumber, and is continuing to struggle with her past. At a family dinner of a succulent Chinese meal, the family prattles on, but Sienna looks distant. Gabby can't help but stare at her facial scars. Her mom chides her, and the girl defends that she thinks they're cool. They continue conversing, and then there's another voice at the table demanding Sienna pass the rice. It's her old friend Brooke that Art killed, now haunting her from beyond the grave. Brooke keeps aggressively blaming her for her fate. It's all her and her little brother's fault. I'm dead. You killed me. Just like your mother, she laughs. Brooke is relentless, and a shaken Sienna has to excuse herself. While Sienna is stuck 5 years ago, Jonathan is doing his best to move on and now attends college. He stumbles into his dorm room, finding his roomie Cole getting frisky with his gal pal Mia. As soon as John enters, Mia pounces upon him. She's a big aficionado of the Miles County clown case and knows all about his story. She wants him to be a guest on her stupid true crime podcast. John declines, saying that he doesn't really do things like that. Cole stands up for him as well. You think he wants to dredge up the worst experience of his life? He's just trying to move on. He gets a call from his sister offering that he'll think about it. The siblings catch up, and Sienna tries to put on a brave face, beaming that it's good to hear his voice, while seeing her breaking down in the bathroom, showing us her true mental state. Again, she should not have left the hospital. This is how bad things are. They leave things pleasant enough. See you in a few days. Yet Gabby happens to be in the room and can tell that Sienna is truly upset. She dismisses it as side effects from her meds, and the duo bond over some makeup. While Sienna is dicking around, Art and V aren't really up to much either. Art tries out a newly fashioned murder device, a tank of liquid nitrogen. A rat acts as his test subject, the spray instantly freezing the critter. Art is proud of his newest contraption, and yeah, I'm really not sure what they're doing here. There's no urgency of any kind with these two apparently. Art even has the free time to just wander through the city streets, where he happens across a bar, and someone inside is dressed as Santa. Art stops in his tracks, excited, seeing the big man himself. He rushes in the bar and truly cannot believe his eyes. The others are shocked by his appearance. All who the heck is this weirdo? That is, except for Santa. Even if this guy is a nutball, he's still gonna get the full Santa treatment. Art tugs at his beard, and it's real. That's how you know it's really Santa. They're curious about his gift sack, and he digs around for a concerning amount of time. He pulls out his horn and honks, giving everyone a jump. The barkeep has had enough of this dude, but not Santa. He tells him to take a seat and even offers to buy him a drink. The inevitable violence is interrupted by another pathetic attempt at sentimentality. Seriously, I have no idea why they even bothered to include these kinds of scenes. Sienna and Jess are having a cup of cocoa, and her aunt asks how she's holding up. Sienna considers, saying that she's feeling normal. No. Jess understands that she doesn't know what she's going through, but assures her things will get better. A tear wells in Sienna's eyes, saying she reminds her of her mom. They reminisce about her, and Sienna lets out a heavy sigh. I miss her so much. Great, thanks for that. Back to the killing. Santa wants to buy Art a drink, but he still needs ID. Art fishes through his bag and pulls out an ID, obviously not his. Santa goads Eddie to give in. It's Christmas. He caves, and they toast to their new friend. Art isn't a fan of the taste and spits the booze right in Santa's face. This crosses a line for everyone. That's rude. He bought you a drink, dude. Art isn't much for decorum and proceeds to urinate on Santa's lap. He finally snaps, and Eddie breaks them up. He tosses them and his bag away, telling him to get out of here. Art keeps pointing and laughing, and then is back to his bag. He retrieves a handgun, quickly blasting the other two. Woo, good shot, leaving only his new pal. Santa tries to reason with him. You can have the suit. You're Santa, okay? Art has a fitting method of destruction for for his jolliness, employing his new nitrogen dispenser. As well as donning a suit, he freezes his limbs and cracks them off with a mallet, his flesh chipping off like meaty ice chunks. He unleashes another blast right onto his face before smashing it to bits. Oh, and don't forget, Santa needs a beard, which he retrieves from what's left of his head. Jess and Greg are in bed talking about Sienna. They mention her going shopping alone with Gabby tomorrow, and Greg is concerned about her. What if she gets worse? Jess refuses to abandon her, knowing that healing takes time. He still thinks they need to keep their guards up. Sienna does some journaling about seeing Brooke, and a few loose papers fall out. One is a note from Jonathan that is quite important. We only see a flash here, but it is discussed at length in a later scene. Down at the local mall, there's a gaggle of kids and parents waiting to meet Santa Claus. Gabby and Sienna are doing some shopping, and it seems like Sienna doesn't know her brother as well as she thought anymore. When picking out a black shirt for him, Gabby knows he doesn't wear that stuff anymore, and is no longer a death metal fan either. Sienna is taken aback, and we see just how much those 5 years really had an impact on the relationship. But why did that happen? Well, we don't get to find out and gloss right over all that. Over the PA, a distorted recording of the Clown Cafe theme song comes on along with people's screams. Sienna stares as Art saunters up in a Santa mask. It's definitely him with the blood on the cuffs and everything. He stops to give her a wave, and Sienna is shocked, shedding a tear at the sight of the killer clown. Gabby joins her, and he's gone. John checks out Mia's podcast, and it's worse than expected. Her co-host floats a theory about Sienna actually being responsible for the murders. If it wasn't for her brothers testifying, she thinks she would be in jail. Sienna comes to pay him a visit at the college, and both compliment how their scars are healing. Geez, must have really been a while since they've seen each other, but again, why? Clearly at some point, John cut off contact from Sienna to try to move on his own. Kinda shitty actually after what they went through. He's all, why do you even want to see me? She's bristly. Do I need a reason to see my little brother? She wants him to come to Jess's tonight. Why wait until Christmas Eve? He says that he can't. There's a big party on campus that he was invited to. This surprises Sienna too. Hey, maybe he's not such a nerd anymore. Well, maybe less at least. Cole joins them along with Mia, who immediately pounces at the sight of Sienna. She fangirls all over her and goes on about how she's talked about her on the podcast for the last 5 years. How in the world is it that much to say on this case? Mia wants to know some banal stuff about her, like her diet and how she's coping. This triggers something deep within Sienna, and she furiously unloads on Mia about how things are really going. She's been in and out of the hospital for 5 years, haunted by images of her dead friends and relatives. She thinks how art ruined her life and is still out there. She spits that leeches like Mia are all the same. You can't act like a human for 1 second, slamming her hand in anger and making things quite uncomfortable. We get why she snapped, but yeah, still kind of awkward. John confronts her over the scene, and Sienna explains that she saw Art at the mall. He's doubtful, especially when saying that he was dressed up as Santa. She knows it sounds crazy, but it was him. They both know it's not over, right? He counters they don't know that. She did cut his head off after all. She ushers him to a chapel and can tell that he's purposefully trying to keep his distance. John considers, if Art was alive, why would he come back here? Sienna points out the obvious, maybe he wants her, and mentions that letter. John said so himself, but the little college boy apparently is too good for her now. He fires back that at least he's trying. Sienna is desperate to have the bond they once did. She needs him. He still thinks that it's best for them to move on and let it go. She continues with what he had written. They need to destroy the little girl, aka the pale girl Art's sidekick from 2. We learn that John did write to her every week when she was first in the hospital. He was deep in research regarding demonology and possessions. He was right about everything. From what we can piece together from the series so far, the first real indication of some other force at play was when Art was resurrected at the opening of T2. This must be the same demon that was within the Pale Girl and now Victoria. The intent is for the demon to get into our world, but needs help to do so, hence teaming up with Art. Sienna also knows she has her own grand role to play in this battle, and as John said, as long as she's alive, they're still vulnerable. That's why Daddy gave her the sword. Whoever chose him was guiding her in preparation for this. This both simplifies and complicates things at the same time. We now understand what Art is at least sort of trying to do, allow this demon access to our world. But then there's the whole sort of prophecy nature here. How long has this battle been going on? And just how was Michael chosen in the first place? Find out in Terrifier 4, I guess. John now at least entertains the possibility of Art being back. What are they supposed to do? Call the police? She knows that won't do them any good. They have to go back to the Terrifier. Why? Well, because her magical blade is still buried there. The one thing that could stop them. Now word from this week's sponsor, Prize Picks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily sports fantasy accessible to all. This holiday season, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sport. sports. It's easy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a chance to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You know, is Lamar Jackson going to get more or less than 214.5 pass yards, or will CeeDee Lamb get more or less than 63.5 receiving yards? Make your picks and submit them. Boom, you're good to go. I'm really looking forward to all the basketball games on Christmas. There is a lot to pick there. It's great too, as PrizePicks make sure to take care of all their members, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as soon as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use code EXPLAINED to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code EXPLAINED to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, word from this week's sponsor, Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is an addictive, fast-paced collectible card game featuring all your favorite Marvel characters that might seem simple initially, but there is a surprising amount of strategy. I like how the matches are quick at only 3 minutes each, so it's perfect if I'm looking for a quick break. It's pretty straightforward to win. All it takes is to win 2 out of 3 locations over your opponent by having more total power points. Sounds easy, but not so fast. That's where my favorite part comes in, building your own deck with all your best cards. Many cards have extra abilities that can completely change the game, and that's why you need to really consider how each card can help out in the battle. You only get 12 per deck, so you gotta make them count. With over 270 cards to collect and over 2,000 unique art variants, there is quite a bit of variety. They also have regular updates to keep things fresh. That means new cards every week and monthly new seasons. This month's theme being Deadpool and Wolverine. How cool is that? So why not give it a try for yourself and join the fun? Download the Marvel Snap app, now available on the App Store, Google Play, and Steam, or visit marvelsnap.com to learn more. Back at the ball while Santa is taking a break, Art Claus seizes the opportunity for some fun. He takes a seat upon the throne and it seems to quite suit him. A girl is waiting with her distracted mom, and Art waves her over. He starts rummaging through his bag and you're like, oh god. The mom finally notices and he pulls out a harmless doll, gifting it to the girl. The kids see the free present and instantly swarm upon him. An elf returns and tells the security guard, that's not our Santa. The guard confronts him to move along and drags him away. Some kids are lingering behind and one is busy opening a present. He opens the box and it promptly explodes, engulfing in flames and claiming the lives of anyone in the vicinity. John is in a mood and returns to his dorm room. His meds beckon to him and he gulps them down. He's struggling more than we realize, starting to text his aunt that Sienna was just here and it's getting worse. He throws the phone and instead takes out his frustration on his desk. Sienna returns to her aunt's with a new present, obviously her sword. I remember watching this the first time and being all, wait, why didn't they show her going to the ride? That would have actually been cool to see, facing her trauma head on and that kind of thing, but nope. Gabby spots the present and asks if it's for her. Sienna tells her it's not, and the girl notices dirt on her nails. She fibs once more that she fell in front of a bunch of college kids, pacifying the gullible child for now. The sloppy plotting continues as Art shows up to the big frat party. But why? If he's here for John, then how did he know to come here in the first place? I'd be willing to accept some kind of evil beacon that could find John, but then why wouldn't they have come for him years ago? The answer is it doesn't make any sense and Damien doesn't give a shit. Or, again, a bunch of stuff got cut out, obviously. Sienna is with her aunt's family, and Jess is surprised her brother is going to a party too. That goober! There are some treats out, and Gabby offers for Sienna to have one. She declines, and Gabby remembers, oh right, you don't like cereal anymore. After the whole Art Krispies thing, reaching her hand into that glass and everything, I don't blame her. But how the heck would Gabby know that? Well, despite promising earlier that she wouldn't read her journal, the girl did so anyway. Sienna wants to know how much she read, and, well, she read the whole thing. Gabby is curious. Is this stuff true about the clown and Uncle Michael? You saw Art today, didn't you? Sienna plays her again, excusing that she's sick. I see things that aren't there. None of it is real. Gabby seems disappointed. So you didn't really chop off his head with a magical sword? No, Sienna chuckles. That would be ridiculous. Not wrong there. Mia and Cole are together, and he cannot get a hold of his roomie. Mia acknowledges that the whole Art thing is definitely a touchy subject, but come on, that was 5 years ago. Art happens to be sauntering down the halls and overhears them say Jonathan's name, so no evil beacon. Just randomly here, I guess. Mia details how thrilling it must have been to be sitting across from the Art the Clown, the most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper. Art blushes at the compliment, given an aw shucks. Mia continues, what would it have felt like to feel his breath on your body? When you look into his eyes, would you see a soul Cole. Cole laughs that it sounds like she wants to bone him. She doesn't, to Art's disappointment. She still at least wants John on the show, and is willing to use her feminine wiles to get Cole to try to convince John. Uncle Greg is watching the news and learns of the explosion at the mall. Oh, and guess what? No suspects in custody. Seriously, is there even a police department in Miles County? If so, they are the absolute worst at their job. I mean, there were tons of witnesses, even Tom Savini, who described seeing a guy dressed as Santa. Sienna starts hyperventilating at the news. He's here. It's not safe. She understands they don't believe her, but knows he's coming for us. Her frantic freaking is freaking out Gabby, and they try to get her to calm down. They call John, and Greg explains how his sister wants him over here now. She thinks that he's in danger. Sienna grabs the phone away, spitting, "It's happening. We need you to come here immediately." John agrees to do so, and has to know, "Did you get it?" Yep, she confirms, and he says he'll see her soon. And as odd as it might sound, this is the last time that we see Jonathan for the rest of the movie. Yeah, more weird plot machinations. A bit later, the house has calmed down, thanks to Jess giving Sienna some sleeping meds. Greg is off to fetch John, and she has to admit that he was right, meaning there must have been some kind of debate between them. Could they help Sienna, or is she just totally Looney Tunes? Sounds like totally crazy won out in their opinions. Jess checks in with a still shaken Gabby. She's worried. She's going back to the hospital, isn't she? Her mom offers that if she's not well, they have to do what's best for her. The girl considers the other side of the coin. What if she's right and Art is back? Mom is confident he's not, and nothing is gonna happen to any of us. Yeah, you're fine. Me and Cole are getting freaky in the shower, and Art happens to be taking a leak nearby. He digs out a chainsaw and gives them a big old hug. Oh wait, no, of course he doesn't. He brutally destroys them with his saw. Cuts off her tits, tears open her stomach, stabs a chainsaw up the dude's ass, tears his dick to shreds, you know, the usual. And I do understand that this has become the trademark kill of the movie. Just like in 2, it keeps going and going and going. You're like, enough already. But that's not Art's style. He also does give Mia what she was so excited about before, fluttering on the verge of death. Art leans down, looking her right in the eye. Was it worth it? He seems to ask her and gives her his festive glasses and boops her nose. Things are fishy when Greg makes it to the dorm. He calls John, who in a crackly voice says he can't see him. Greg says, "I'm right here," and the voice says, "I'll be right there." Obviously, it's not actually John that he's talking to, but rather Victoria imitating his voice. We saw the pale girl do the same thing in 2, but this also means they must have Jonathan's cell phone. Sienna has another flash of her with her dad, showing us more from earlier, and hands over a drawing of Sienna in her warrior armor outfit. She's excited. He actually drew it. "You like her?" he asks, and the girl loves her. Is she an angel? Michael tells her she's not just an angel, but an angel warrior. Her fire sword has special powers that can defeat any bad guy and can never hurt her. Can she defeat Power Man? Her dad boasts that she can defeat 10 Power Man. She tries to take the drawing, and her dad refuses to let go. They are bombarded with visions of Sienna's future as seen in T2, particularly when she's in the water tank. She actually seemed to drown and then was resurrected at this moment, adding more to the religious themes at play. This also clues us in that her dad was aware of her future fate and what she must do. This also must be why he refuses to hand the drawing over. He releases his clamps, and there's another flash of something. Michael's tone turns grave. "You need to listen to me." The door in back begins to glow red. He tells her that he will always be with her, seeing Sienna now watching over the memory. Things get weirder, seeing a tableau from what must be many, many years ago. There's a strange angel statue holding the reins of someone in a metal mask, and maybe her future armor is there too? The mask guy growls, and the angel lady tugs on his chains like a bad dog. The masked creature gets back to work forging something, which must be the sword. Sienna emerges from her medication-fueled slumber, and it's just past 2 a.m. She overhears Greg and Jess talking about her again. Now on the same page, they agree they need to call a doctor immediately. She's clearly unstable. Jess still tries to defend her, but he argues she's a danger, not just to herself, but the whole family. She is worried that Sienna can overhear, but Greg is unbothered. Listen all she wants. He thinks they should just go up there right now and smother her in her sleep. Then they would be free, she agrees. Free, they repeat in unison. Of course, it's V doing her voice mimicry again, now wearing her own makeshift art-style clown outfit. And Art is there too, hanging up Uncle Greg's body in a crucifix on the wall. Whoa, 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 hold on a second there. What happened? This is maybe the biggest moment that I can really feel that they were tearing out pages during shooting, because there's another huge jump here. It's the same sloppiness as the party. How did Art know where Greg's house was? Did they question him before flaying him? Probably not. So then if they could magically get here on their own, wouldn't this be their very first stop? What's the point of literally anything else that's happened in the movie if all they really need saying to Sienna, why go into hibernation for 5 years? Because that is why they are here now. They specifically need her. All I'm saying is something got cut out here, that's for sure. Art goes for Sienna with a mallet. She tries to run up the stairs, and he tosses her into a table. She grunts, seeing the blade nestled under the tree, but before she can do anything, Art whaps her in the head, knocking her out. She comes to bound in a chair with Victoria taking photos. She has been unwrapping the presents and playing with them herself. There's also what looks like a bird cage covered in newspaper and dripping blood out on display. Jess is there as well, also bound and gagged. Art is busy carving out some intestines and uses the innards for a garland for the tree. The tree topper? Why, Greg's head, of course. Happy holidays! They remove the tape from Jess's mouth, and she yelps for her daughter. V growls, I thought you'd never ask. She unwraps the package, and it's a skull within with most of the flesh already eaten. She claims that it's her daughter, but Jess doesn't buy it. Now V wants a present for herself, and kills Jessica by shoving a tube down her throat and forcing rats into her insides. It's gruesome and goes on too long. You really know the deal at this point. Sienna whimpers and cries, forced to painfully lose yet another family member. Vic bestows her crown of thorns, furthering the religious imagery, forcing it upon her head. She vows to take everything she loves, and then is gonna invade that pretty flesh of yours. Okay, got it. The demon needs Sienna as a vessel. She can inhabit her body and fully be in our world, although it seems like she's doing just fine with Victoria's body, but whatever. She has a confession to make. The skull does not in fact belong to her precious Gabby. Art brings her out at knife point, alive and well. Sienna tries to bargain herself for Gabby, but V notes, well, I already have you. Gabby spots the present, and she must have looked already, knowing what's inside and how important it is right now. V gets all up in her face, saying that it's your fault. She places a pair of glasses on the skull, implying that it's actually her even more precious little bro. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is another, excuse me, wait a second, sir, kind of moments. You're telling me that Jonathan, a major character, was killed off screen? Even if not, it's definitely a weird choice again. Damien was cagey about how this turned out, but there's only really two ways to go here. Yeah, he's dead and that's it. You don't see it, so what? And I mean, John didn't really get much to do here either. Otherwise, it's being used as a kind of later bargaining chip for the demon to use against Sienna. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember Art really ever taking anyone prisoner before. They're just dead. Torn to shreds, usually. This is yet another question mark in the story that no matter which way it eventually falls, feels cheap and just odd. At least thinking that her brother is dead, Sienna really loses it. Victoria taunts her to kill her, let out that anger. Everything you love is gone. There is no hope. There is no God. Just let go so you can let me in. V grabs her throat. The wind kicks up, and there's an obvious attempt at a soul transfer here. Sienna's eyes turn milky and white, while hers glow red. They then start to transfer. Sienna's turning that same fiery flame color. She unleashes a primal grunt and manages to push out the demon from taking over. V is amused. You are strong, aren't you? She now knows why they chose her. Knowing that she loves Gabby and that's all she has left, Art takes a blade to the girl's throat. Gabby makes a cunning play. It's only fair that Sienna gets to open her present. V agrees and she directs her to the gift at the back with the angel wrapping paper. She turns to Sienna. Want to know what Gabby got you for Christmas? She tosses the present, bouncing on the floor. Art proceeds to utilize his favorite mallet and absolutely demolishes Sienna's hands like destroyed. She is still able to utilize her damage digits to open the package. I hope you like it, Gabby says, and Sienna smirks. It's the best gift ever. She slices the blade across Art's throat and in a perfect shot tosses it clear across the room right into V's chest. Sienna snarks, tell me how this tastes, and stabs the blade down her throat before slicing her head off. Sienna gives Gabby a hug, and of course she knew the blade was in there because she opened it already. Oh, kids. Art is back for more with his chainsaw, and she holds him at bay with the blade. They tussle around the living room, and S gets stuck. Gabby tries to lend a hand, and Art socks the girl away. They wind up in the kitchen. She gets him pinned against the fridge. He swings the saw wildly, sending her blade flying. She returns the favor, and he loses his saw. He resorts to biting her, and executes a perfect WrestleMania takedown. Now with the upper hand, he shoves her face closer to the still whirring blade. Sienna grabs his family jewels, squeezing him tight. So he has balls? Even that's weird. She goes for the knife, and Art saws right through the table. He grabs her by the throat, shoving her face in her uncle's entrails. Meanwhile, V's blood starts to hiss, and her head dissolves away. It begins to sizzle, and an odd fog covers the floor. Sienna gets the blade, jamming it deep into Art's chest, pinning him to the wall. The clown smiles, and black blood pours out his mouth. She digs the blade in deeper, and Art's eyes also start turning white. V's blood creates a huge hole in the floor, and Gabby tumbles right in. Sienna has to choose, take out Art for good or save Gabby, and she's starting to slip. Sienna naturally elects to save the girl, but she cannot reach her. She uses the blade, her holding the sharp end, sacrificing herself to potentially save her. Gabby tries to climb up but still can't make it, and ultimately plummets into the foggy interdimensional hole, also losing her sword to boot. Sienna looks up and the window is open, knowing Art has escaped. Shoot, 0 for 2 there, dang! She looks to her deeply sliced hands and they start to instantly heal, remembering what her dad said about how the blade could never harm her. Sure, but what about Art malleting her hands to bits 2 minutes earlier? She shouldn't have even been able to do anything in the first place, like holding the blade. Somehow that was miraculously healed too. Oh well, screenwriting is dead. Sienna on her own vows to somehow save Gabby no matter what. It's all she has left. But what is that hole anyway? Well, the only thing even close to that in the series was a portal that led to the Clown Cafe, or perhaps Nightmare Dimension. It makes sense that Sienna will have to descend into hell essentially to save Gabby, again more religious connotations. That idea is further backed up in Art's final moments. He's waiting in the snow at a bus stop, injured and looking at his lowest. On an approaching bus, a lady is reading a book entitled The Ninth Circle, which has multiple meanings here. More personally for the series, The Ninth Circle is the name of the very first short in which Art made his big debut, that was also included in the All Hallows Eve anthology. Then there's the meaning of the ninth level in relation as to where the series is most likely heading in the grander sense, Dante's Inferno. One of the most famous stories of all time, it's all about descending the 9 layers of hell, and guess who's at the very bottom on level 9? Satan! It really seems that Art's deal was clearly established in the Ninth Circle short. He is bringing his offering to what is definitely the devil. Now in the later, more fleshed out series, we are seeing that same idea in a grander execution. The ultimate battle between good and evil. And the next stage, we'll certainly see their fight taken to the next level, straight on down to hell. That'll do it for this Ending Explained for Terrifier 3, but if you want a reminder of where the series started, check out my videos covering the first 2 films. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.